Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to beautiful Corio Bay here at Geelong, Victoria, Australia for round number 2 of the Australian Offshore Superboat Championships, and the racing has been red hot this morning. Unfortunately, a couple of incidents, 2 red flags, who would have thought? But all the competitors and crews are okay, but we're now going to see the rerun of our Super Sport 65 category. So it's not a rerun in actual fact, I shouldn't say that, it's actually the second race for these guys. So the first race for those guys was actually declared. So this is actually their second run today, and we've got boats out on the water, and we are looking at a white flag situation at the moment out here on Corio Bay. So it's looking absolutely spectacular. Wind is still there, but it's certainly not presenting any type of rough conditions for these boats, and probably the reason we've seen a couple of spin-outs today. Very fast racing, smooth water, and a few of these guys getting a little bit tangled up in the corners. So let's hope we can get through the whole 30-minute race for this one as our 65 boats head out onto the course. The start boat will pick them up. We will run through this category. It is a speed limited class, of course, and we just have a quick look at the boats that we will have out there. Of course, the boat that caused the red flag, I think, can restart in this one because it is not a rerun. It is actually their second race. So we'll run through the boats. Giggling, Mark and Liam Sutherland. We got the Nutcase with Harry Backer and Shane Payton. Pike Racing with Andrew Pike and Pete Hutchins. Loose Wind with Stevie Poulton. Valentis with Paddy and Michael Pack. Villain with Danny Cayley and Dean Cayley. Cardiac Arrest with Peter Coglandro and Charlie Diorio. Team Zoll Racing with Zoll Gore and Hun 74 with Greg Walters. Our start boat today is the Waterbird, Stephen Carter and Lockie Bain. Big thank you to those guys as we send the boats out onto the water. Don't forget, folks, check out all your socials. www.superboat.com.au. All of the information is on the website. Jump on board and check it out. You can see all the dates, all the photos, and importantly, all the dates of the upcoming rounds. The championship moves north from here, and they're really looking forward to that as well. So, welcome to everybody on the OSC Facebook page for the live stream here today as well, and we've got our Super Sport 65 boats coming down through behind the Waterbird start boat. White flag flying high, so we'll have a little bit of a look here. We've got Pike Racing on the inside, Nutcase out of 2, out of 3 Zoll Racing, out of 4 will be Valentis, Hun 74, Cardiac Arrest, Villain, and on the outside is the Loose Wind of Stevie Poulton. So plenty of good boats. We'll send them down on their parade lap, and certainly looking forward to this one. We saw, of course, the Villain machine, which is a Kudacraft Villain hull, have a big spin out up the top corner and spat both of the crew out of that boat. So great to see those boys are back out and running and in one piece, which is always nice to see. Villain, of course, is Danny and Dean Cayley. So white flag up as we take them down. They'll do a full lap of the course, a siding or a parade lap. Gives the competitors a little bit of a chance to have a look at the actual course markers at a lower speed. And just set some coordinates, or just in the bare minimum get in their mind where they need to be, what they need to aim for when they come out of corners. Quite often when you're racing a powerboat, you look for landmarks. So you'll come out, okay, well, Cunningham Pier is slightly across to my port side, on my left side, and I'll aim for that, and that'll get me up to the next turn, boy. So sometimes you actually can't see the turn, boys, when you exit a corner. So it's important to find yourself a landmark and head for that and know where you've got to go. The trick of that, of course, comes down to when you're having a battle with another boat and you want to be trying to cheekily sneak up the inside, which I'm a big fan of, as you may have noticed during the commentary, but you want to be able to try and just do the cheeky look up the inside as well. And if you don't know where the turn buoy is, that can be a little bit trickier than perhaps what it sounds. So these boys are just sussing the course out at the moment. Unfortunately, no Captain Risky this weekend, which is a shame. Local boy, but had a little bit going on outside of his racing world. So not seeing Captain Risky this weekend, but hopefully we see him in the future rounds. Sweep boat, start boat, Waterbird brings the fleet down. 9 Supersport 65 boats. And we're waiting for the flag to drop. And for the action off here, beautiful Cryo Bay. Last race of the day, folks. If you would like to come down and see the boats, if you're here on site, the pits are open down at Steam Packet Gardens. Everybody is more than welcome to come down and meet the competitors. Most of them are nice blokes. If you want to come and see me, I can tell you which ones to go and talk to. Thanks, team. I've got a fan club. How am I going? And goes the call, and the fleet of 9 boats, the flag drops. You know what stops? We are racing down into turn number 1 here for the Supersport 65 category, race number 2, round number 2 of the Australian Offshore Superboat Championships, and it's the nutcase. Probably, I would expect, using this pole position to his advantage, and it is tight and it's wide. Wow. In fact, we got, oh my goodness. Not much room here, and boats running in some very shallow water. Gets very wide and very loose, but basically at the moment, Nutcase in front. Back to Pike Racing, then it's Giggling, Zoll, Team Zoll Racing, Hun 74, Valentis. Then it's back to Villain and Cardiac Arrest. And Loose Wind in that order as they go down through turn number 1 for the first time, but it's the Nutcase machine. The beautiful Razorcraft doing a very, very nice job. We can see Zoll, a lot of trim on that boat, maybe a little much engine height for my liking. As it throws that big, big rooster tail, just not getting the power delivered down to the water the way you'd like it to. Of course, the engine heights on these boats are all adjustable. Some of them are actually adjustable whilst on the move, on the fly, with a hydraulic plate that can be lifted up and down. A lot of them just have a manual plate which can actually be set in the pits but can't be adjusted while you're racing, and you do have to adjust your engine height for different propellers, but you can always see when somebody's got a little much engine height on, they throw that big hydroplane style rooster tail, and that's what Team Zoll Racing's got at the moment. He's throwing that big rooster up, and it's just a little bit much engine height in that boat. You're basically throwing power up into the air and not turning it into forward motion. So Zoll needs to go back and just drop that engine height a little bit, maybe a little bit less trim, and he might have a little bit more success there because he's actually been shuffled out the back of the field. So race leader, and I'm going to call him as race winner of race number 1, given that it was cut short by a red flag, is the Nutcase machine, Harry Backer and Shane Payton. They were at the time being hunted by the Sutherland boys, Mark and Liam, father and son combination. And it looks like a very, very similar pattern playing out here at the moment with certainly Nutcase using that pole position to their advantage. You could see down through turn number 1. It's a big advantage when you can hold that tight line. You can even afford to just, and you have to slow down a little bit more than everybody else, but you just quickly sneak around the corner and get back on the throttle, and that's when you make a break on everybody, and that's exactly what Harry the Boatman Backer and Shane Payton have done here. Harry builds these particular razor crafts and does a beautiful job. He's absolutely embraced offshore powerboat racing and certainly out there to prove his product to the fishermen that buy these particular boats. So he builds a very, very nice cuddy cab version of this particular hull. But you can see it's also very, very competitive and quick in these conditions. Sutherland boys, oh, big hose off there for the Sutherlands. Liam got plenty of salt water in the face there as big sumo Mark Sutherland just hard on the edge of the wash there, just trying to use as little ground as possible, travel as little ground as possible. Pike Racing there with Andrew Pike and Pete Hutchins, the beautiful V7 Velocity hull up into third place. Then it's the Haynes hull, the Hun 74, doing a very nice job with Greg Walters. Then it's Cardiac Arrest back to Valentis, Villain and Zoll, and you can see a bit much trim and a bit much engine height in that boat. That's the former Slick Racing machine. And Zolly, a very hard charger, but I think he's tried something in the setup department that has hurt him a little bit there. Zoll also electing to run one up. He told me it's because he can't get anybody else to get in a boat with him. Can't blame anyone for that. So down through turn number one, the whole fleet goes. The real battles at the front of the pack up into the dog leg. But we've got a few battles going on in the pack there. In fact, the interesting one at the moment is between Villain and Valentis. And they are just behind the Cardiac Arrest. So Villain, Valentis and Cardiac Arrest all having a red hot battle. Beautiful conditions here at Corio Bay in Geelong. For those of you watching around the world and overseas, Port Phillip Bay, the bay off Port Phillip Bay is Corio Bay. In beautiful Victoria, Southern Australia. And absolutely stunning town. A massive shout out to the council and everybody here in Geelong that makes us feel so welcome. So 25 minutes left to run in this race. That means we've been running for around about 5 minutes. And I tell you what, we've got a very, oh no, sorry, I just didn't pick up, I thought Nutcase had nicked off on Giggling, but they haven't. Giggling still right back there in the spray. I was actually looking back to third place, which is Pike Racing. So interesting racing here for these boats. They do have a limit of 65 miles per hour. So none of them want to break out over that speed. Because if they do, they're disqualified. I believe there was no breakouts this morning, which is great news in any of the categories. Down through the bottom turn. And it's the Nutcase, back to the Giggling. Nutcase, Harry Backer, Shane Payton. The beautiful Force hull, 2100S. With a 250 Mercury on the Giggling machine. 3 litre Optimax. Tell you what, Andrew Pike is driving that V7 Velocity absolutely perfectly. But I tell you what, he's got a bit of a challenge coming on the inside there from Greg Walters. In the Hun 74, I'd be closing that door. I wouldn't be writing a written invitation there. I'd be getting some yellow turn boy on my gunnel. So this battle continues on. So Cardiac Arrest, back to Villain, back to Valentis. And Team Zoll with Stevie Polton in the loose wind running out the field. Couple of competitors missing here this weekend are our old mate Craig Dove. Not sure he's supposed to be running this weekend, but they had a great run, him and Stevie Lancaster, at round number 1, but may have done some damage to the boat. I'm not sure where they are here this weekend. Someone might let me know, but unfortunate that those boys aren't running. So we're got still 23 minutes left to run in this one. Run through our race leaders. We've got Nutcase running in a P1 back to Giggling, back to Pike Racing. Then it's Hun 74. Cardiac Arrest, Villain, Valentis, Team Zol, and Loose Wind in that order. So Loose Wind just coming through now. Stevie just a little bit off the pace, but running the wide line just to make sure that anyone that needs to get through can. He doesn't want to hold anybody up. Beautifully turned out boat. Real credit to Steve, this particular Excite hull. Gives a little bit of a wave as he comes through. Hello, Stevie. He's having a fat old day on the bay here. Hope he hasn't got too much loose wind. Might be a bit of jet propulsion. So, battle at the head of the pack continues. Nutcase. So, the Sutherland boys aren't going to get them just sitting there. They're going to need to come up with a plan. They need to do something. They either need to try and sneak up the inside. They need to corner harder. But the frustrating part of this category is they can't break out. Mark Sutherland would have plenty more under his foot, but he's not allowed to use it. Oh, there you go. And I just got a message from Steve Lancaster. They will be running tomorrow. So that's great news. Working on the boat currently. Hopefully got the TV going in the shed, mate. Can't wait to see you boys down here tomorrow for my final commentary gig for Offshore. So, race order now as we just see boats going through. Cardiac Arrest and Valentis. Zol just dropping out the back door a little bit. He's still got a bit much engine high and a bit much trim on that boat. He's just losing a bit of momentum. So in the middle of the pack there, it's obviously Giggling second, Pike Racing third, but then you've got Hun 74 back to Cardiac Arrest, Villain, Valentis, Team Zol and Loose Wind. Watching up through the dog leg there, and a little bit of sun glare on the course now. So hopefully it doesn't affect our competitors too much. Still 20 minutes left to run, so only is actually 11 minutes down in this race now. So it's a tricky part of this speed limited category racing is when there's not a lot you can do to catch the guy in front of you if you're both running on that limit. If he's got a bit of a break on you, it's very, very hard to claw that back. And at the moment, the Giggling boys will be quite frustrated, I think, by the Nutcase machine because they just can't get that little bit of a break that they would like, and can't bridge that gap. So Check out the Offshore Superboat Championships, of course, ladies and gentlemen, on Facebook, Instagram, and, of course, YouTube as well. Easiest way, just Google Offshore Superboat Championships. Brought to you by the Australian Offshore Powerboat Club, the AOPC. And we've got Navigator there, just pumping that fist in the air. That's Shane Payton throwing his hands in the air. So they're pretty confident at the moment, boys, but you've still got a long way to go, and you've got the Sutherland boys breathing down your neck. So boats starting to get laps put on them here, Stevie Polton, but it looks like actually moving up into third place is Hun 74, Greg Walters. He's actually got a little bit of a break there on Pike Racing now. So Andy Pike and Pete Hutchins won't be too impressed that the Haynes has gone around them. That's a good effort there from Walters. Just hopefully he hasn't broken out, because it's quite unusual to see someone make that sort of a break on another boat, unless Pikey potentially had a little bit of a problem at some stage. Had to get out of the throttle and let the boat behind him by. So the cardiac arrest just going through there as well. Peter Coglandro and Charlie D'Orio doing it very, very nicely indeed. Oh, I'll tell you what, a little bit of a walk and a bite there from the cardiac arrest as it just goes down through the bottom. They actually spun that boat out at Wyndham Harbour and got thrown out of it. So you just probably want to be a little bit cautious here at Geelong. Don't need the same thing happening again. Speaking of spinning out, this is the boat that spun out this morning, and both driver and navigator got spat into the drink here at Corio Bay, but obviously the good news is they're okay. Maybe being a little bit more cautious now in the Villain. It's Danny and Dean Cayley. Did an interview with Dean this morning, lovely young bloke, and I'm sure he's sitting in a wet race suit at the moment, which is never that much fun. Zol Gore coming through there, Team Zol. This is a former slick racing machine, and boat's going very nicely. Okay, so battle continues on at the front of the pack here, and these two boats have made a really good break on the rest of the field. The Nutcase, Shane Payton and Harry Backer. Tipping down into the port turn at the bottom end of this beautiful Corio Bay course. The Giggling still running there in second, just can't quite bridge the gap. So frustrating for these boys at the moment. Desperate. Mark Sutherland is an absolute competitor. He hates looking at the transoms of boats in front of him. Had the privilege of towing Mark as a young fella in water ski racing, and very, very competitive guy. Very good water skier and a very good boat driver. This is a good effort here, running up into third place for Greg Walters in the Hun 74. And then Pike in the Pike Racing entry, doing a very, very nice job, but just got overhauled by that 174. He was in podium position, but now he's been shuffled back into fourth place at the moment. Valentis, the Pack boys, Paddy and Michael. Paddy actually built this particular hull himself out of an American mould. Done a beautiful job of running the Yamaha power with the Niz Pro tune in it. And then the cardiac arrest machine coming through, and a little bit of rock and roll there from the Coup de Craft Villain. Just a little unsettled, that boat. Stevie Polton goes through, ticks off another lap in the loose wind. We have got 13 minutes, 28 seconds left to run in this race. And Corio Bay looking absolutely stunning here this afternoon. I might just stay here this arvo. So, running through now is the Villain as my screen just goes away. They're running in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th place at the moment. After that spin out this morning, they've toned it down a little bit. They're still, well, I'm not sure if they're the points leaders now after this morning's race. They might have been. And that's going to hurt them a little bit, I would say. Team Zoll Racing ticks off. Down through the bottom turn, the battle for the lead continues. Nutcakes have probably opened the gap, which I would suggest. .9 seconds, the gap between the Nuts and the Giggling. So having a bit of a lonely run now, the pack boys, Paddy and Michael, in the Valentis machine. This boat not running quite as much horsepower. It's not running the 300 horsepower of some of the others. It's running. It has had a little tune up from our friends at Nispro. So Simon Gish has had a bit of a go at that one. So it probably is making up around that 300 horsepower mark, I would suggest, at a guess. Of course, this particular class, there is no restriction on horsepower or brand or anything like that. There's no rules, so it's just purely, you're not allowed to break over that 65 mile an hour bracket, so which makes it a very, very competitive and interesting class. So running through there in 7th spot at the moment is the Villain Racing. It is a coup de grace Villain hull. But two of them in this particular race here today. And the Villain boys a little bit more settled than they were in this morning's race, where they spun out and got thrown out of the boat. So I would say once bitten, twice shy. They're just trying to settle that down a little bit. Team Zoll Racing, this boat's getting quicker every lap. Might try and have a look at a few lap times there for Zoll Racing. He's running an 8th spot at the moment. He's run a 3:27, a 3:22, a 3:26. So his laps are improving, Zoll, and this is a new boat for him. So And as I said, the last time he raced a boat's got to be 10 years ago, and he ended up upside down in the mud at Paynesville. So he's probably started out a little bit more cautiously, I would suggest. Battle for the lead, still continuing on. Nutcase back to Geelong. Great racing from these two boats. Geelong boys have now dropped into the wash of the Nutcase machine. So I would say that given half a sniff, Mark Sutherland will try and just have a cheeky look up the inside. He needs to do something. He's not going to get around the outside of him, not what he's doing. Running through in fourth place at the moment is Pike Racing. It's a V7 Velocity hull. Built out of Race Marine in Chelsea Heights in Victoria. With a V8 250 QC4V V8 Mercury on the back. Paddy Pack in his own design and built boat, doing a very nice job. Yamaha power, as we discussed earlier on, and then Cardiac Arrest. Now this is the boat that spun out at round number 1, race number 3, and these boys have certainly settled the whole show down. Peter Cogliandro and Charlie Diorio doing a nice job out there, really enjoying their powerboat racing. They had the privilege of getting thrown in the water at round number 1. Neil, my cameraman's pretty happy with my pronunciation. Thanks, mate. Try my best. Villain down in the bottom third. And the Villain comes through. And these boys a little bit once bitten, twice shy, I think. Running around in 7th spot at the moment. As I said, they came into this round as championship leaders, but I'm not sure. Well, we've still got another race tomorrow for these guys. So they'll probably want to be in the top 3 tomorrow if they want to try and hang on to that championship lead. Just having a look at the championship in this Super Sport 65. So Valentis was actually running in 2nd spot and Geelong running in 3rd. In fact, Nutcase was at the bottom of the table with a 6th place, a DNF and a 3rd place at round number 1. So Nutcase really do need a win here to try and bolster their championship hopes, whereas Geelong, if they run in 2nd here, and Mark Sutherland's not a silly boy, even if they run in 2nd here, that'll put them to the top of the table in the championship. So they don't need to do anything particularly silly. They just need to run through their previous round. As I just have a look here, Geelong had a 2nd place, a 3rd place and a 2nd place in their 3 races at round number 1. And sitting in 3rd spot, but at the moment the 2 boats in front of them, Valentis and Villain, are both well and truly down the order. Currently sitting in 5th spot, and Villain running in 7th spot. So the Geelong boys are doing what needs to be done to win a championship, I would suggest, at the moment. And I'm sure they're well and truly aware of the fact that they don't want to break out, because if they can run through into 2nd in this particular race and then have a similar result tomorrow, they don't really need to worry about Nutcase too much, unless Nutcase continues to win races from here on in, and then they'll be a big threat. And the way they're going at the moment, they look very, very speedy. So Sutherland boys will be happy to just take a cheeky little 2nd today, I would suggest. Around about 4 minutes left to run in this race, just under. Cardiac Arrest just goes through. So those boys they're running in 6th spot at the minute. Man, I wish I was as cool as that guy. Yeah, flogged. So Villa now down through the bottom turn. And another lap ticked off for them. So let's run through our race order at the moment. Nutcase currently leading back to Geelong. Hun 74 doing a beautiful job in 3rd place at the moment. Pike Racing into 4th. Valentis into 5th. 6th place is Cardiac Arrest. 7th place is Villain. And Team Zoll running in 8th with Loose Wind in 9th place at the moment. I'll tell you what, Hun 74, we might just have a little bit of a look at where they came into this one. Hun 74 were sitting at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th in the championship coming into this one. And this is going to be good points for the Hun 74 machine with Greg Walters behind the wheel. So, and we'll be getting close to our last lap now, I would suggest, as we go through with about 2 minutes 11 left to run. Nutcase back to Geelong. Geelong boys know what they need to do here, and they just need to not make any mistakes. Whatever you do, don't break out on the last lap. This will put them, if they can pull a second here, it will put them to the top of the championship table. .74, this has been a great race for Greg Walters. A bit lonely now, but he has absolutely managed to work his way up through the field. Started out back in 5th spot, worked his way into 4th, and then he got around the Pike Racing machine up into 3rd spot, putting Pikey back into 4th. Pike doing a great job. This is a new boat to him, a super lightweight boat. This hull itself, I know for a fact, weighs 330 kilograms, so it's quite a light boat. How do I know that? Used to be mine. So, beautiful boat for water ski racing. When the water gets a bit rough in offshore powerboat racing, maybe a touch on the light side, but a beautiful boat all the same. It's a V7 velocity. Valentis goes through, Loose Wind on the outside of him. Cardiac Arrest comes through, they tick off another lap. They're running in 6th spot at the moment. A little bit of a lonely run there for Peter Coglandro and Charlie Diorio. So Villain goes through, ticks off another lap. Still running that 7th spot. But I reckon those boys, Danny and Dean Cayley, will be just pretty happy to bring that boat home after having a little bit of a whoopsie this morning. Have a look at the rooster tail on Zol Gore as he goes down the Cunningham Pier Straight. It looks like a Grand Prix Hydra. Last time I saw a rooster tail like that was on a Grand Prix hydroplane right here. I think this will be our checkered flag. It will be. So, ladies and gentlemen, finally we get to finish a race here today. Put your hands together for the team of Nutcase taking the win. Great racing there from Harry Backer and Shane Payton. A charging second place, the Sutherland boys, and they know They've gone to the top of the table in Giggle and Mark and Liam. Zolgor comes through there in Zol Racing. It's a checkered flag, mate. You can stop now. He might just want to keep going. Coming through, third place, ladies and gentlemen. Put your hands together. Great job there from Greg Walters in 174. Big shout out to our start-finish boat crew, Stevie Carter and Lockie Bain as well. Doing a beautiful job there on the Waterbird. This is a good run here for Pete Hutchins and Andrew Pikey Pike in the Pike Racing Machine. Fourth place. Up into fifth is going to be the Valentis with the Pack boys, Paddy and Michael. Good run, a bit smooth for those boys today. They would have liked a few more bumps, but a good run nonetheless. Those boats head back into the marina. And coming through into fifth place, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the Cardiac Arrest. Sorry, that was sixth place, I should say. Cardiac Arrest, Valentis into fifth. So waiting on a Villain, Team Zol and the Loose Wind. So to be ninth place coming through there, Stevie Polton in the Loose Wind, and Villain Racing, Danny and Dean Cayley getting the job done nicely. And just waiting for one more boat on the course now to come through, and it's Zol Racing, who's looks like he's going to complete an extra lap, which generally speaking gets you disqualified if you do an extra lap. But hey, like I said, I'm no judge. I'm just a commentator. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we just wait for that last boat to come through, don't forget you can check out all the action, www.superboat.com, offshore superboat, I should say, .com.au. Also check them out on the social media pages, Facebook, Instagram and YouTube. Google Offshore Superboats, you'll go straight there wherever you want to be. So Zol will come through, however, that's an extra lap for him, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Check the website and Facebook page for all the results, official results. Of course, we don't know who's broken out, who hasn't broken out, and what penalties may have been incurred. So that wraps up racing here today, ladies and gentlemen. So we certainly hope you've enjoyed the racing here today at beautiful Corio Bay for round number 2 of the Australian Offshore Superboat Championships. We've got 3 races again tomorrow, beginning, I think, around 11 a.m. Check the Facebook page, the OSC Facebook page, for all the details and all the start times. We've really enjoyed bringing it to you. A big thank you to Scotty, Neil and Paul, our cameramen, doing an awesome job as always. And we got Gus and Russell running the show in here, along with Pete Massner, doing a fantastic job here at the Offshore Superboat Championships. My name's Dave Bishop. We'll see you tomorrow.